This is lesson 2 for chapter 2. Solve two-step equations. I want you to scan the lesson and list the main things that we're going to learn. What is one thing that we're going to learn, Abby? Properties. Properties. And then the other word, what is it, Addie?
Two-step equation.
Okay, so two-step equations. Do you see anything else to add to that? Yeah.
I didn't know that we were supposed to have a math book. Can I go grab it?
Yeah. Okay, so what these properties mean, and I never remember the name of them, but they're important. Like what they mean is important. But the addition property means if you add the same thing to both sides, they are this. It's still balanced. They're still equal. So which one of these examples shows that it stays equal after you add? Which one of these shows that you stay equal after you add? In other words, which one is the one where they added to both sides? Which one?
The second one.
So this is dividing. So they added the same thing to both sides. Jessica, what do you say?
The very last one.
The very last one. See how this one, they added 5 and added 5? That's the addition property. Okay, where's the division property of equality, where they divided both sides by the same thing? Somebody who hasn't answered it. Kyler, what do you say?
Top.
So actually, see how they're multiplying right here?
Oh.
Okay, so which one is it where they divide? Yeah, Sam.
The one below the top?
Yeah, so the second one down, good. All right, which one is the one now where they multiply? Kyler, coming back to you. What's the one where they multiply?
Top.
Very good. And then the last one is where they subtract on both sides, so it goes like that. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the others. These are the properties of equality. So you can add and get the same thing, divide and get the same thing, multiply and get the same thing, subtract and get the same thing. And then we're going to skip this stuff down there. Okay. So what we're doing today is a two-step equation, and it contains two operations like adding and dividing, or multiplying and subtracting, or any combination of those. So the equation, this is so notice that the 2 is multiplied, x is multiplied by 2, and then 3 is added on. Those are the two operations. In fact, we're going to put it right here. Right here, and putting like a little invisible thing right there, that would be multiplication. And right here we have addition. So make sure to write this in your book because that's part of writing your notes. And we have two different ways. They're showing us two different ways. There are more than just two different ways to do these, but this is the two ways that they're showing us. One way is using a model. So we have two x's. So we don't know what x is, so they put bars for x's. They had 2 bars. And then 3 ones right here. And then they had 7 right here, so they put 7 ones right here. Now how they solved it is like, look, we have 3 on here and 3 on here, so then we just have the x's alone, and that's exactly what we want. And then each one of these x's will balance out with each one of these ones, and so they saw that there were 2 x's and 4 ones. So then they grouped 1x with 2 ones, 1x with 2 ones, so that means that x equaled 2. Another way, and this is my favorite way of doing these, is like this. So they write down the problem, and then I want you guys to add this in. You draw a vertical line underneath the equal sign. What are you going to draw underneath the equal sign? So everybody needs to draw this vertical line underneath the equal sign to remind you that what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Have you guys ever babysat or watched little kids and like maybe one kid gets a piece of candy? What's the other kid going to do? Yeah, it's either going to ask for it or throw a tantrum or something, right? So you can think of this line, when you draw that line, it's like one kid is on this side, one kid is on that side, and you have to make sure that it's balanced, like that they both get the same thing. Or another way of thinking of this, have you guys ever seen a scale? Like a scale, you put something on a scale, and if it's like this side is heavier, it's going to go down, this side is going to go up. Or it could go this way, but you want to keep it balanced. Whatever you do to this side of the scale, you guys know what a scale is? So like it's like those things like this, and then like goes like that, and then it's a really bad picture. But you know, work with me. Okay, looks like a Y. So this one, this is another way of thinking of it. You guys ever gotten a present before?
No.
Never, not in my life. So in a present, and so you know how some presents, especially like maybe clothes, like they are wrapped in wrapping paper and then inside a box. So in order to get to your present, what do you have to undo first? What do you have to? You have to undo the wrapping paper, and then you have to open your box. So when we're looking at these two-step problems, the +3, whatever you add and subtract, generally speaking, that's like the wrapping paper, and then whatever is right next to the letter, that's like the box, to open the box. And then you have to undo those, right? So right now the wrapping paper is +3. How do we undo +3? Subtract 3 from both sides. Yeah.
What another teacher taught us last year is that you just have to cover up the variable and do whatever is right, is the immediate, to the immediate right of the variable.
And that works nice until then it's on the opposite side. So like the number part B, look at the example B down here. See, if you covered that up, then like there's nothing to the right of it. Does that make sense? So another story. So stories help. I think it helps to like make it think of things. Have you guys ever gone swimming in the wintertime, like on an indoor pool?
Yeah.
So I prefer wearing my swimming suit to the pool, but then I have clothes on, right? And since it's cold outside, I'd have to have a coat on and I'd have just my normal clothes, right? So X is kind of like the person going swimming. And if you were to go into the pool, can you go into like to take the, like, can you just go and like poof, like all of a sudden you're in your swimming suit? No, you have to take, what do you have to take off before you take off just your outside clothes? You have to take your coat off first. So then I say, what's the coat? Okay, you have to take off the coat first, which is minusing 3, and then you can take off your outer clothes. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are all just different stories. So first we subtract 3, and then we have 2x equals 4, and then how do you undo? And right now the clothes are timesing by 2. So how do we undo timesing by 2? And then this is an important thing. When you're showing dividing, just use the division bar. If you put this kind of thing like that, it's going to kind of mess you up because sometimes, like, have you guys ever seen it when you're trying to do division and then it just goes like this and then you forget that that was actually division and then it just looks like subtraction? Do you guys see that? So please do just normal division bar, like divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so then solution would be 2. Okay, so then let's try these. What's the first thing that we're going to draw on these?
Line in the equal sign.
Vertical line underneath the equal sign. Nice work. Okay, and A, what is the, you can either say what's the gift wrap, like what's the wrapping paper, or what's the coat. So that's the +2. And then another way of saying this is another way. So this is like the 4th way I think I've described. Do you guys remember doing please excuse my dear Aunt Sally? We are doing backwards that. We're doing sad MEP. So first we undo subtraction and addition, then we undo division and multiplication, and then we undo exponents and then parentheses. Generally, there's some exceptions to these, but that's the general thing. Okay, so, okay, sad MEP or the coat. What's the coat again? +2, so we're gonna -2, -2. And then we have, I put a line to know that I finished a step. Then we have, because 2 subtract 2 is 0, and then 20 subtract 2 is 18. So we have 3x equals 18. Then what's the coat? I mean the clothes, the outerwear? Open the box, divide by 3, divide by 3. So x equals 6. Good. And then I'm not going to write it over here for the sake of time. Next one, what's the coat? What's the coat on this next one? And let me just give you a hint. The coat is always on the side where the N is, where the letter is, whatever the letter is. So it's the 5 right now, right? Because the N is wearing a 2, but we've got to take the outer where we start on the outside N. So how do we undo the 5? Subtract 5, subtract 5. Now then we have 2N. Now double check. 5 subtract 5, does that go away?
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing to check because sometimes people are like, 5, so I'm going to add 5. And all of a sudden, what's 5 plus 5 on this side? 10, right? But then they didn't do that, and so you have to be careful. Use your calculator. Is it okay to use your calculator?
Yeah.
Okay, -2 minus 5 is? -1 minus 5?
-6.
-6. And now the last thing.
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So N equals
3.
-3. Nice work. I'm just going to do these with you for the sake of time. Is that okay? Okay. Next one, now we're gonna combine it with the things that we did last time. So first the code, so then they rewrote it right here, and then here's the line. So they had -3, so they added 3. And then they had 1/4, so they flipped it, which was just 4, and then they multiplied, and then they got this answer. So now we're gonna do these. What's the first thing we do? That vertical line, right? Okay, what's the coat on this one, on C?
-9.
Yeah, and it's really tempting to say -1, but remember that the coat has to be on the same side of the person. You can't like take a coat off that a person's not wearing. That does not make sense, right? Okay, so that's going to be the +9. What's the opposite of +9? So subtract 9, subtract 9. And what is -1 minus 9?
-10.
-10 is equal to 1/2 A. So then what do we have to do with that 1/2, Jordan?
What is that going? I don't know. It's 10 o'clock apparently.
Wake up. Okay. So what do we have to do with that 1/2, Evan?
I'm sorry, what?
What do we have to do with this 1/2? So on the one up here, when we had the 1/4, we flipped it and timesed it by 4. So what do we do with this 1/2? Flip it, which is just what?
2.
2. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. So what's 2 times by -10? -20. Nice work. Is equal to A. Good. And then, Brody, what's the coat on this one?
The 2/5,
No, that's the close.
5.
5. So it's -5, right? So how are we going to undo minusing 5?
That's what I have.
Add 5. Is everybody writing this down? Okay, good. All right. So then, Ashleen, what is 7 plus 5? 7 plus 5?
13.
It's 12. Yep. And then we have 2/5 R. That was sloppy. 2/5 R is equal to 12. So now, Hannah, what am I going to do with this 2/5?
You're gonna
Flip it. Very good. Which is what?
5/2.
5/2, and times this by 5/2. And then you can put this in your calculator just like that. 12 times 5/2, and what do you get?
29.
Try again.
30?
30. Nice work.
AJ, you
All right. Now it gets kind of weird with the rest of these. Slightly weird, but not too bad. So they did the same thing. But then now this is where I can tell you from experience things that I've seen that are common blunders, and I'll make a whole other video on that. But we're just gonna say, see how there's a negative on there's a -3x right here? That negative must stay there, or your answer will literally be the complete opposite from what it should be. Like if I didn't put a negative here, my answer would have been +5, which is the opposite of -5. Does that make sense? And I will mark it wrong if you forget the negative. / it is wrong. Okay, so let's try this one. What's the coat on E? 10. So we're going to -10, -10. And then we have -2/3 P is equal to 42, right? But you see how I have the negative right here? Don't forget the negative. If you forget the negative, you're going to get it totally wrong. So now what do we do with that -2/3? Flip it. So it's going to be -3/2, -3/2. You can put in your calculator 4/2 times -3/2, and P equals... Waiting for you. 42 times -3/2. You can do it in your calculator. Go.
Good, because 42 goes into, 2 goes into 42 21 times. 21 times -3 is -63, or just type it in your calculator. I'm going to leave these for you to do, and then your homework is numbers 1 through 13, 15 through 16, and 20 through 26, and only 20 through 26 even. And it's only these that are even that you have to do.